Hello, and welcome to Anthropology 415, The Human Story, Evolution, Fossils, and DNA. Please note this course fills a Gen Ed 3B and a Discovery Biological Science breadth requirement. In this short introductory lecture, I want to give you some introduction to the logistics of the course expectations, and then introduce the topic of the course, the subfield of biological anthropology, and what we'll be studying over the course of this J term. I am the course instructor, Dr. Megan Howie. I am an associate professor here at UNH in the anthropology department. My email for all communications in this course is megan.howie@unh.edu. I want to note that this course is asynchronous. What that means is there's no set time that you have to be online. There are due dates, and you can do the work anytime within the 24 hours of the due date of labs, and also the same goes for exams. I will be available on email most of the day. I'm available during working hours, but I have set it out such that you can be guaranteed a response to all your emails between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 3 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. I do this so that you understand that if you email me at 2 in the morning, I will not be responding at 2 in the morning. So while you can do your work at any time of day, I will be available to you during normal working hours. I'll likely respond to you in the morning before 11 a.m., but I guarantee you between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. you can hold me to that you'll get a response by that time to any of your email questions. I am not asynchronous. I do not keep the schedule of a college student. I have 2 small children. I work during working hours. I'm available all day during working hours, but I am not available 24 hours a day, while the class is available 24 hours a day. So please keep that in mind. It's convenient for you. You can do the work when you want, but it comes with that availability of mind. So I want to set that out. Also, while the class is asynchronous, there's no set time you have to meet. Some of you might find it useful to have a more interactive session if you're struggling with some of the material, or you have some questions that I can't quite answer over email. And if you want to set up an interactive discussion over Gmail chat or phone calls, please just email me and we can arrange that between 11 and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. The course materials are a required textbook paired with a virtual laboratories for physical anthropology CD-ROM. You should already have these in your possession. Perhaps you're looking at them right now. So please, if you do not have them, get them right away. I had them bundled at Durham Book Exchange for a reduced price by the publisher. You need these materials. I sent an email before the end of last semester, posted it as an announcement on the Blackboard site. Also, you need to have these materials in your possession as soon as possible. The first lab is due on the 3rd, so you have only a few days to get these materials if you do not have them. Everything for the course is on Blackboard. It's asynchronous, run entirely online through Blackboard. If you're listening to this, you've clearly gotten to that point. You've seen the arrangement, but every lecture and labs everything is organized. There's a folder for every day of the course. In that folder, you'll find the lectures, the links to these Tegrity lectures, which you're listening to now, as well as a PDF of the lectures, not this introductory one, but all the rest of them, as well as if there's a lab due that day, there'll be a folder for the lab that has several components to it. It has which I talk about in the other lecture that's in this same folder, an introduction to the labs. The exams are also administered on Blackboard. And I can't say this enough, if you have not already read the syllabus, please, 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 go read the syllabus. Consider it your first reading assignment. In an online setting, it's really important that you read this syllabus, that you understand the expectations for the course. The course goes very fast. It's only 3 weeks long, so please, please read the syllabus. Your course grade is composed of virtual laboratories, which account for 40% based on 8 different virtual laboratories, each worth 5%. And again, there's a Tegrity lecture in this same folder that describes kind of these labs, the logistics of doing these labs. The due dates of these labs are all indicated clearly on the course syllabus. And then there's 2 exams, the dates of which are also indicated clearly on the course syllabus. These are objective format, multiple choice, true-false exams administered through Blackboard. That composes your entire grade for the course. Now that I've talked about the course logistics some, which you can review in the syllabus, and you can look at the Blackboard organization, email me if you have any questions about the requirements for the course. I want to just introduce what we'll be talking about in the course, which is what is the subject of this course. And this is really a course that's an introduction to biological anthropology, which is one of the 4 subfields of anthropology. Anthropology has 4 subfields: cultural anthropology, linguistic anthropology, archaeology, and biological anthropology. Now, if you think of anthropology, perhaps the subfield that comes most to mind is cultural anthropology. These are the people who go out, these are the ethnographers, they live with communities around the world, different communities all over the globe, and live with them, immerse themselves in their culture, and write ethnographies and monographs about them. The most famous cultural anthropologist perhaps being Margaret Mead, you might be familiar with. This is cultural anthropology. Linguistic anthropology studies the importance of language to culture. Archaeology, which is actually what I'm formally trained in. While I have a PhD in anthropology, I was trained in all 4 fields at the University of Michigan, which is a classic 4-field program. So I was trained in cultural linguistics, archaeology, and biological anthropology, which is why I teach this class. I find it very interesting, and I have training in it. But my primary subfield is archaeology. I'm an anthropological archaeologist. And what archaeologists do is we try to understand human societies, past human societies, through the material remains they left behind. We're glorified trash pickers, but we use what people left behind to reconstruct their lifeways, their beliefs, their values, their cultures. And archaeology is very closely related actually to biological anthropology, particularly the part of biological anthropology that studies the human fossil record, because we study the remains that were left by our ancestors. So what is biological anthropology? It itself is a very dynamic subfield. It's a subfield with subfields within biological anthropology, and the study of biocultural variation in human societies, past and present. And what unites these kind of 4 seemingly different subfields is they all share this focus on culture and this view that culture is an important mediating construct for humans, both past and present, and that through understanding kind of human actions and beliefs and values and economics and politics and biology and language, that all of these things, we can understand them and the importance of culture and diversity and change in human societies over time. And that's what unites everything under the rubric of anthropology. So what exactly is biological anthropology? As I just said, it itself is a pretty dynamic discipline. It's kind of has several aspects. The kind of 3 major components of biological anthropology is that it's the subfield of anthropology that focuses on the biological evolution of humans and human ancestors, the relationship of humans to other organisms, most importantly being the non-human primates. We are great apes. We're primates, we're great apes. And a big part of biological anthropology is to study the other non-human primates, and particularly the other great apes like chimpanzees, our closest relatives, and understand that relationship and our place in the natural world. And then to understand patterns of biological variation within and among human populations, both past and present. Biological anthropology, yes, it takes a framework of culture, very important, but the anthropological perspective, but it also relies heavily on the evolutionary framework, which it shares with other life sciences. So biological anthropology is based on a combination of kind of looking at humans in an evolutionary and cultural framework. We call that the biocultural approach. That's really the heart of biological anthropology, is taking a biocultural approach to human beings, understanding us as biological as well as cultural beings, understanding our evolutionary history, our variation, our patterns of population dynamics through a biocultural lens. Biocultural approach is very holistic. Again, it combines this perspective of we're not nature or nurture, we're both. It looks at variation among human population, and it's very comparative between human groups as well as with other living organisms. So what do we want to do in this class? What are we going to look at? We're going to try to make sense of and let me apologize. There's some drilling going on. There's a major renovation going on at Huddleston right now, so I apologize if there's some background noise. So what we want to do in this class is we want to make sense of our origins and know how we've changed over time. But we also want to ask questions about human variation. How and why do human populations vary? How are we adapted to different environments? Why are some groups susceptible to diseases and other groups aren't? Why are skin colors different? Why are some people short and stocky and others long and lean? Why do some people have bigger noses and smaller noses? Why do some people have beaky noses? These are all questions that we'll understand things that have evolved in relationship to as humans have adapted as biological beings to different environments. So we're going to ask these questions about human variation. We're going to try to understand how we're alike. What are the biological attributes of human being? What are the universals? What is it that universally makes us human? You know, why do we share these things, these feelings and practices across time and space? But also, what do we share with our closest relatives? This is a chimpanzee. We share over 98% of our DNA with this creature, which is pretty astonishing. It's only less than 2% of our DNA that separates us from them, that makes it so we study them. They don't study us. What is it that, what is it we share? How are they a mirror unto our humanity? But also, how are we different? And how did we get there? What were the evolutionary processes that led us to be so different? What is it that put us in one direction and them in another? So we'll really ask a lot of questions about these, our closest living relatives, the non-human primates. And again, trying to understand how these differences came to be. So the course is composed of 3 components that cover these various topics. Evolutionary theory and genetics is the first section of the course, and in this we'll also examine human adaptation and examine the question whether race is a useful concept to understand the biology of human beings, in which I'll show you that it is not, that it's much better to understand human biological variation from an adaptationist or evolutionary perspective. We'll examine the non-human primates and our relationship to them. And these 2 sections of the course, parts 1 and 2, form the topic of the first exam. And the third part of the course, the human fossil record, forms the third part of the course and the second half of the course and the topic of exam 2. And this is when we'll take what we've learned in the first 2 sections of the course and use it to investigate the 6 million year record of our and our ancestors' evolutionary history evidenced in the fossil record. We'll try to understand what it was that led us to where we are today. We'll look at that moment in time, from that moment in time, about 6 million years ago, when one of our ancestors came down from the trees in the end of the Miocene in East Africa and started walking upright, bipedally, at least part of the time. And we'll look from that moment on and the trajectory we followed evolutionarily, culturally, socially, population-wise, and where we've come from there to when we became fully, completely human, occupying all parts of the world. It's a 6 million year journey, and we're going to try to cover it in a week and a half in the second part of the course. We'll take with us the knowledge we learned in the first part of the course about evolutionary processes and how they operate in human populations, about how we're like and not like the primates, and then we'll hold that information up as a mirror to look at the fossil record, to investigate what it is that led us to become Homo sapiens we are today, with these big brains and complex language and complex rituals and complex social lives and complex ideologies, and how we started from pretty humble beginnings, but so important, when one of our ancestors just came down part-time from the trees, started to walk on 2 legs, and we'll go all the way up through when we became fully modern human beings. And that's the third part of the course that occupies the second half of the course, this exciting journey that we followed over 6 million years from a creature that when they came down from the trees, if we saw on the street, we'd run away from, to those moments in time when they started to become more and more the paths and starts and stops that we followed to lead us and our ancestors that led us to where we are today. So that's why I call it the human story, and that's what we'll be examining this J term. So enjoy.